The weather across the United States remains on the quiet side. However, we see signs of things getting just a smidge more active next week. We'll have that and much more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, your go-to source for anything regarding winter storm cleanup. And also, since we'll have to see if we'll get another winter storm in the tri-state area, but they're going to be getting ready for spring soon, which means mulch, topsoil, whatever you need to make your yard looking like the envy of the neighborhood. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. The telephone number is 631-756-1125, and the website is... Oh, wait a minute.
Omni.
Wait a minute. You're back to being a big movie star, so I just don't know whether, it's part of your... Yeah.
Movie star.
All right. So if you would honor us by doing the omnitruevalue.com website, I would appreciate it.
omnitruevalue.com. There you are. Get it.
Yes. Oh, they got it all
right now. Yes.
So, you made your glorious return to television on a network, no less. And I haven't looked at it. I'm going to go on the website after the show and watch it. But my understanding is that you got rave reviews. Clive Barnes of the New York Times said it was a meteorological performance like no other. He's never seen anything like it.
Well, I mean, I predicted this last night. We were there for over an hour in Central Park at Belvedere Castle, and I think I clocked my total time on air or in front of the camera at maybe 40 seconds.
Oh, that's
maybe.
That's not too shabby.
Considering that I'm not really, I was invited on, and I saw one of the weather observers. I think it was from one of the North Jersey weather observers was there in the piece, talking about how much he just loves disastrous weather. And what the heck?
Well, bully for him.
Yes.
We don't particularly enjoy disastrous weather. It does.
But he was young. It looked like a kid, actually.
Yeah.
It looked like a kid. Joe, it reminded me of you and I 45 some odd years ago. When we just sat there
when we weren't paying a mortgage.
Exactly.
Right.
Or we're worried about damage to property, such as having snowstorms at the end of October, which pretty much took down a number of tree limbs and cost a pretty penny to clean up. So yeah, you're right.
But did you have fun?
Did I have fun? Well, I mean, it's always I will say honestly, it's somewhat of a pain in the a pain in the tuchus to go down into Manhattan,
right,
and then park your car, find a garage, park the car, dodge the cars as you're running from one spot to another. So I mean, it was interesting. It was fun last week, and it was sitting here today, just waiting for the piece to air, and it did. It came. It went. By the way, for those of you who missed it, and if you happen to have WLNY, which either is channel 10 or 55, on my system it's 79 up here in the Hudson Valley. But if you have WLNY, which is the other CBS station in the New York area, the piece will run again from start to finish from 9:30 to 10 o'clock tonight.
Okay, I don't have a WLNY.
I got to tell you that
I
thought it was, in a word, I thought the whole half hour was slick, was well done, and I could see CBS putting it up for a possible consideration for an Emmy nomination within the next, whenever they have the choices of nominations, there it will be.
Now, unless you're listed as part of the staff, which I'm thinking you're not going to be. No, you could. You know
what's going to happen? They will go ahead. They'll submit that for the Emmys. It'll get nominated. It will win an Emmy. Everybody will be getting a statue. I'm still waiting to get mine. It may never happen. I've been nominated 8 times before, but if it helps, Lonnie and all the other people at weather people at Channel Two, if they win something, and my minuscule little teeny tiny bit helped to push that forward, I'll be happy.
Well, mine is. You probably can't see it. It's on the edge of that shelf next to the TV set. That's where one of mine sits.
Yes.
Okay, because the other one I never got the statue for because I didn't want to pay the $350 or whatever the hell it was for it. So I got the certificate, and that's on the other wall in the other room. So, but on the other hand, Joe, you have a bobblehead and I don't. So I don't have the luxury of.
Yeah.
I don't have the honor of the bobblehead, which would have been nice.
Oh well.
I actually wouldn't mind having a bobblehead, but no matter. Okay, so
You can have your own bobblehead made up.
yeah, but I want
You can
somebody.
make your own bobblehead.
I know, but I want somebody to award it to me.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. So here we are at the end of a quiet week, and next week looks a
Well,
bit
not quite at the end.
well. We're almost
It's. I
there.
mean, we're not.
Well, it's the end of
Yeah.
our
Well,
week
almost.
because we're not on
Yes.
tomorrow or Saturday. Uh,
Right.
Next week looks a little more a bit more active, especially if the European comes true with its not. I don't know if you saw the European today, Joe. The 940 low in Eastern Canada. I saw that. I just laughed out loud. I mean that's insane. That's just insane. And a pressure gradient that would basically just blow everybody away up the East Coast, both ahead of it and behind it. But the European likes to do that every once in a while. It's done this before where it shows some incredible low pressure somewhere in the Northeast, and on the very next run, it's either far less deep or it's a totally different look. So, but I got a good laugh out of it.
When is that? Not. I'm looking here.
Yeah, the 240 hour, Joe.
9:58.
That's
Oh. Yes. Yes.
that's a
There you go.
that's a 940 borderline Cat 4. That's like a Cat 4 hurricane. Seriously, I mean, really,
Oh.
you know, I kind of could see how there could be a deep low in that position. I don't know, 940 is off the wall, but it comes after the first of what may be two polar vortex splits. In fact, one is beginning tonight. That I don't know if that's direct. That is the direct reason why you're going to wind up with the 940 low. I have to get somebody with a higher, talk to somebody with a higher pay grade that knows about such things. But nonetheless, the split
940.
is happening at around the same time.
940 millibars, incidentally, on your good old fashioned aneroid barometer, folks, translates to 27, not 29 or 28, 27.76 inches of mercury. Good luck. 27.76. Wow.
Yeah, that's
I
a smidge low.
Yes.
If your barometer
Yes.
says stormy on the bottom, you have to go down a couple of more levels for it to either read very stormy or approaching apocalyptic or something along those lines.
God, or if you're German, Gottammerung.
Yes. Meanwhile, our Chuck Cardillo, who resides at 3,000 feet in the glorious Catskills, sent me these pictures today of his 3-inch plus snowfall last night, and it does look quite pretty. I think. Well, that's one. Where's the other ones? What is this? What is it doing? Oh,
I've got the circle of death right now,
yeah. No,
Joe.
hang on a second. I don't know why it did this. It's supposed to go into the next picture. All right, let's see if I can do it again. So we'll go to the next picture. There's the next picture. Okay, so there's the backyard of Chuck Cardillo with the snow fence going all around. Because at 3,000 feet in the Catskills, you do need a snow fence. And I love that tree. Isn't that a beautiful tree?
Yes.
Chuck, did you grow that
Yes.
tree from a seedling? Because it's gorgeous.
But watch out,
He's
because if if somebody from Rockefeller Center is driving by this
they
summer,
may want it.
that may not be. They may want it exactly.
All right. So, welcome to everybody that's watching the show tonight. We're glad to have you on board. And big hellos to everybody on the chat board. If you like our show, please, by all means, hit the like button. And you can join the chat board by subscribing to my YouTube channel with your Gmail account. This way, you'll get notifications every time the Joe and Joe show is on, which is 5 days a week on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And Monday through Thursday, we're usually on at 7:30 Eastern Time, and Fridays and Saturdays, Joe and I take the day off so that we can recharge unless there's a storm brewing or if there's a storm going on, in which case we will broadcast on those off days as well. Meanwhile, on the satellite, it looks like much of the area from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England is clear. You can see the cold front is only down into Virginia, which means my area here down in the southeast, Joe, an absolutely gorgeous day. I broke the 70s for the. I should have brought this up. That's who's going to get to 70 first. And but I didn't think of that till just now. But I got to 72 today. So that was nice. And I think Atlanta's going to get close to 80 tomorrow, so I could make mid to upper 70s here. Meanwhile, we got storminess, a little bit of storminess out in the west. Moisture's coming into California, still running up into the Pacific Northwest, and that's where most of the action has been this week in terms of precipitation, mostly rain, because that's actually warmer air that's been coming in. All the cold air is over the Great Lakes of the Northeast. But I'm looking at the weekend, Mr. Rayo, and now the cold front on Sunday doesn't look like it's going to produce very much.
Maybe a little bit of precip in the early part of the day, but we've got a dry Saturday, albeit a rather cloudy Saturday, and temperatures on Sunday, Joe. Conservatively, I'm saying low to mid 60s here in the Hudson Valley, but man, if we could somehow manage to break the cloud deck a little bit and allow for even just a smidgen of sunshine, there'll be places that will be rising rapidly through the 60s on Sunday, in spite of the threat of a little bit of precipitation early in the day.
Meanwhile, tonight it's going to be cold, teens to near 20 for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, and tomorrow mostly 30s for highs, I think, with a good deal of sunshine. On the radar tonight, I'll bring that up. There's we'll use Joe Rayo's favorite $5 word, a paucity, a scarcity, a lack of precip. There's ever so slightly a few snow showers down in southern West Virginia and in southwestern Virginia, with that weather boundary that is coming to a grinding halt in southern Virginia, and also seeing a little bit of snow up in northeastern Illinois and in eastern Iowa. Barely enough to even whiten the ground, probably. And up in the northwest, the solid area of rain has tapered off a bit to just some showers. There's uh, some more steadier precip as you head up into northern Idaho and points eastward, and also seeing some rain here from Southern California, not quite down to LA and San Diego yet, but that arm of rain extends pretty far south out into the Pacific, and that should be swinging northeastward. And seeing some heavier rains just south of San Francisco. Also in the southwest, in southwest Arizona, southern New Mexico, along and north of the Texas border, we're seeing a few rain showers, and I think I managed to see a few spotty light rain showers. Yes, in southeast Louisiana and out into the Gulf there. But again, there's not enough here to really uh, force the Weather Service to put up any significant watches or warnings. If we put that map up, it's been like this pretty much all week with just a handful of places with watches and warnings. We've got some winter weather advisories up in northern Montana. Also, then there's a gap, and then there's some in southern Montana. We've got a couple of winter storm watches up in Wyoming, in east central Wyoming and northwest Nebraska. A few advisories in some of the counties in the western part of Colorado. And we have advisories and one winter storm warning in northeastern California and some advisories in south central Oregon. Otherwise, in the eastern part of the United States, really, it's just very, very quiet.
It is. It is. But we're still thinking, Joe, that once we get past the midpoint of the month, that things are going to be changing. All right? Or
Yeah, I think what after what it was the models were doing yesterday, uh, today is one of those days where you kind of look at every run and then every run does something slightly different in terms of the longer range, which we'll get to in a moment. WPC, by the way, for rainfall, now this is a 7-day rainfall forecast. So this goes right through next Thursday. Now they've got an inch to an inch and a quarter of liquid being indicated across northern New Jersey, and 3/4 of an inch to an inch covering much of the Northeast, except for Maine, where it's a little bit less. And then you see the bigger rains that are extending southwest from western PA down into Missouri and Arkansas. There's even a stripe there in southern Illinois on the Indiana-Kentucky border of 2.5 inches plus, and also about an inch and a half plus for southeast Louisiana. A lot of what's out in the west may wind up being snow, especially in Colorado and in Utah and Wyoming. And you can see liquid amounts of an inch to an inch and a half covering much of those states and even extending down into Arizona. You can see in California, in the Sierra Nevadas, that's probably going to be mostly snow, and up in the Pacific Northwest as well. WPC. Okay, the probability of at least 2. And we're looking out in the west where the probabilities of at least 2 are pretty high over a large portion of this area. Again, this is for the next 72 hours, so this takes us right up until Sunday morning. And that area extends up through the Dakotas and also up into the Western Lakes. And just for laughs, let me see what they have. And very little, I mean, hardly anything is in the Northeast at all. I mean, they've got a 1 to 5% chance of at least 2 up in northern Maine, and that really is just about it. I just want to take a look. I'm going to go to the probability of at least 4 and see what they got out in the west here. And all right, well, not too shabby here. There are a few areas here where there's a probability of at least 4, and that includes a good chunk of north central Nevada. In California, in the Sierra Nevadas, we got that narrow strip of a 90% or more probability of at least 4, and in parts of southwestern Colorado and western Wyoming, seeing some larger probabilities for at least 4. Should we look at 8? Oh, also up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. In northeastern Minnesota, we have a fairly high probability of 50% or more for at least 4 in northeastern Minnesota. And a few scattered areas, of course, in the Sierra Nevadas is a fairly high probability of at least 8, and in southwestern Colorado. And in the long range, what is this now? This is for Monday into Tuesday. Let me look at Sunday first. All right, so for Sunday, hang on, I got to put.
and while you're looking, thank you to both the chairman, Scott Driller, and also to Chuck Cardillo for hitting the super chat box this evening. The chairman says plenty of time to join Chuck with snow. Latest accumulation of snow at Central Park. Now, we're not talking about flurries here. We've had flurries as late as the 9th of May, and that only happened a couple of years ago. But the latest for, more than just a trace at Central Park, April 25th, 1875, according to the chairman, 3 inches. And from Chuck's perspective, he wants to thank you, Joe. That tree that we were admiring on one of his images belongs actually not to him, but to his neighbor across the road. And thank you for sharing those pictures. And he congratulates me on my long-awaited TV appearance. Long-awaited. It's been, we both left FiOS 1 in November of 1919. That's a longer way than I thought would like to think. November of 2019.
Right.
And
So it's
so
2.5 years.
tonight, tonight, so tonight, actually, in thinking about it, I was with Lonnie with the solar eclipse last June, but that was like at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I don't think very many people woke up or were up at 5 o'clock to see
Oh no.
moi
Well,
on
you were
TV.
prime time this time.
This time I'm
You were
prime time.
prime
Yeah.
time. So
Thank you, Chuck.
so you know I'm thrilled that you're even speaking to us. Uh, so this is Sunday into Monday. Probabilities a little stripe there from northeastern Kansas of 10 to 30% of at least 2.5, and southern Iowa higher probabilities in Colorado just west of Denver for Sunday into Monday, and in northern Maine, northernmost Maine, where they haven't gotten a lot of snow this year, relatively speaking. Probabilities showing up there, and looking ahead to Monday into Tuesday. There we go. The map finally loaded. We have high probabilities in upstate, north of well north of I-90, by the way, of 30 to 50%. Northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, northwestern Maine, going back into Michigan. And let's see if they've got anything going on for Tuesday into Wednesday. Negative on that. Some stuff up in the northwest, and also up in the northwest and the Rockies and even into the plains when we look at the long, long range, which is Wednesday into Thursday, and not a flake, not an ice pellet, nothing as far as the Northeast is concerned. So let's go to La GFS. And Joe, back many runs ago, many runs ago, for the 8th of March, the GFS showed a low off the coast with a little bit of snow for Tuesday. And on this run, well, we'll get you there first. I just want to show you here for Saturday's going to turn out. Earlier this week, you and I talked about this yesterday. Earlier this week, it looked like Saturday was not going to be a good day. That has gradually evolved into a better day for Saturday with the high offshore, the warm front setting up way to our north, and the low going well to the north and west of us. Now, the GFS has a little bit of precip, but it hardly gives any measurable here. So I'm just, I'm wondering whether when we get there that Sunday could wind up, we could get away with it just being dealing with clouds and not much else.
That would be nice. That would be nice. But if we do get any kind of precipitation on Sunday, it looks like your best chance would probably be during the first half of the day or in the morning. And in the afternoon, again, just a lot of clouds. And yeah, and then we'll see how warm we can get on Sunday. As I said, if we can manage just a little bit of sunshine on Sunday, temperatures are going to soar. Even without the sun, temperatures here in the Hudson Valley likely will be in the low and mid 60s at the very least.
No question. And while that's going on, you can see the activity going on in the west as that low develops on Saturday back in West Kansas, and then runs up to the northeast into Wisconsin. Most of the lakes wind up getting rain out of this, and then the low goes on its merry way. Now there's a second wave that gets shot out, and you see it here. And now all of a sudden, the model is weaker. This started out, Joe, with a low going up the St. Lawrence Valley. Excuse me. Now it's got a much weaker low that's getting basically squashed and pushed eastward for Monday. Some rain coming in on Monday, but there actually is a little bit of that light blue snow there just inland for Monday night into Tuesday. There's really not that much cold air. There's a little bit of cold air that's trying to come down from the north, but we don't have one of those super duper cold highs like we've seen a few times this winter. So we'll see. We'll see if it holds on to this in prior runs. I didn't. I didn't. It just didn't really rock my boat. Let's put it that way. And then that goes out. And there's another low that forms in Kansas later next week, and that looks to bring some snows to Colorado, and along with some very cold air, by the way. In the meantime, some kind of wave comes out of the Gulf and goes off the southeast coast and goes goodbye. And now you have this, the energy from the west comes in, and then there's still more energy. I think one of the problems here, Joe, is that the GFS has got a little bit too much energy running around, so it doesn't quite know what to do with what's off the East Coast and the system to the west, that you wind up with some bizarre looking low that's in western New York that probably redevelops off the Jersey coast and then becomes a major storm, but it looks rather disjointed here. It's a 974 low, and it's about 30 hours faster than what the European has, which it doesn't have until its day 10 time frame. This comes on the day 8 time frame. And then that uh, that goes out. So I'll be on the windy side if that were correct. Now we have a lot of cold air that the GFS has because it loves to do this where it drops thicknesses. I saw one of the earlier runs had a 498 thickness just north of New York City, which of course now it's what 504. Okay, well that's not too that's close. But look how cold it will be if the GFS is right. Look how cold it gets down here, down in the southeast and into Florida. It takes the whole cold high and just drops it right down into the Gulf states. I don't know if I believe it, by
What
the
does
way.
the what does the GFS have as far as the strength of the millibars on that eastern system at 240?
It has a nine.
I mean, it's not as
It's a 9.6 at 216. It's a 968. Now that seems a little more reasonable. The European,
right.
yeah, the European and the new the new one's not updated yet on with the precip. It looks the difference between the two models is that the European is like a day behind. The European has this at 216. It's got a low starting to form off the New Jersey coast, and it's got another low that's running up toward James Bay, and then it explodes. And there's a 980 low, Joe, sitting in southern New Jersey. I mean, the gradient behind it on the European is just absolutely wicked. And then look at this. I mean, the gradient's crazy here. I'm going to pick a point just for laughs. I'll bring up a sounding. Let's bring up a sounding. So I just took up a sounding right near New York City. That doesn't really show the wind very well. At least it doesn't show the surface wind on this sounding. It's got a temperature of 34, but you got to believe we're blowing away from the northwest at 30 to 40 here, if this is right.
That is look. How many isobars have crammed into Pennsylvania? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a 68 low in central New Hampshire, a 51 low. It goes sort of straight north from there. I guess that's not too far from Montreal. A 51 low, and then it's a 940. I mean, come on. Seriously. Here, let me see the Atlantic. Let's look at the North Atlantic view of this. I mean, Jesus, look at that, Joe. It's like it's just like covering all of Labrador and Quebec. It's crazy.
It's a it's a what's the word I remember John Coleman used to call? Well, actually, John Coleman, you need two low centers, a double pronged doodad. Uh,
Oh
uh,
God.
this is tightly wound up. Tex Antoine used to tell people who didn't understand meteorology back in the day, because in those days the New York Times would show you the weather map from the U.S. Weather Bureau with isobars. And Tex, I remember, was trying to explain. He said, just consider the mainspring of your wristwatch and tightening it a little bit too much. And that was, during one of these crazy coastal systems. That looks like a wristwatch with a mainspring that's far too tight up there in eastern
Yeah.
Canada. It is. It's really weird.
Well, both.
And look how it just kind of does a loop, kind of a loopy.
Yeah,
It's kind of like stuck in neutral gear over eastern Canada.
both models, by the way, have a very deep negatively tilted cutoff. Well, it's a wrapped up cutoff low. There's another short wave that's coming around on the bottom of it. So in its formation, it is a very powerful negatively tilted trough that just cuts off like an animal. It's just that the European gets there a day and a half later than the GFS does. There's also another big storm that's off the coast of Ireland on the other side. We've got a big ridge right up the middle of the Atlantic that goes all the way up to Greenland. Now, here's the GFS which is faster. And I think the reason why is because the GFS is, if you notice on this map here, when it comes up on the screen, you'll see it. The upper air, the darker shades of blue pretty much show where all the short waves are. And the GFS seems to have a little bit more energy scattered around in different spots. So it's got the strong trough that lifts up, but the main energy is still behind. The European phases it all with that main energy, has the lead energy coming out slower and phases it all with that main energy that's coming around behind it, which is the reason why it's a day and a half slower and has the animal that it does. But both models have something. I mean, there's enough similarity in the models to suggest that something is going to happen sometime late next week or next weekend, not the weekend that we're coming up to now, but next weekend with regards to that system, and that will live up to what March is supposed to do, which is to produce like these really big storms and big wind events, if that were to verify.
Yep, that's and of course that, as I mentioned last night, not this weekend but next weekend will be the anniversary of the blizzard of '88, which was in itself kind of the benchmark for all massive or major winter storms, if not for all, certainly in the month of March. That was the remarkable system to have so late in the winter season. That was only 134 years ago, Joe.
Right. Yeah, it's practically yesterday. So we are, as we said, we are undergoing a split in the polar vortex here, which is getting underway right now. And this is early Saturday morning. You see one center over Siberia and also one center up in northeastern Canada. Now, that first center is going to disappear relatively quickly as we move into next week. Now, the models were suggesting that there'll be a second split that we'll try later in the forecast period. And you see it here on this run. It actually, very interesting, Joe, on this run, it's the difference between this run and the last few runs is that it split it in two. This is for Saturday, March 19th. It split the vortex in two. It had the stronger vortex in Siberia and a weaker vortex over North America. This run actually has it in reverse. It has the stronger polar vortex in North America and the weaker one in Siberia. So that's an interesting development. We'll have to see if this all winds up verifying. The first split's going to happen because it's practically here. The second one remains in question. And what that ultimately does to the bottom of the atmosphere, I don't know. I would just suggest that if we get this split around March 19th or 20th, that you probably won't see the ramifications of this for another week to 10 days after that. So maybe it's telling us, Joe, that as we get into the month of April, we're going to run into a stretch of the curse of the onshore flow and the raw cold in the northeast and that sort of thing, with warm weather kept at bay. I don't know. I'm just sort of openly speculating here.
Well, when I mean, the baseball season now without a lockout would have started on the 31st of March, very early as compared to the way it used to start. Like 50 years ago, it didn't start until like the 10th or the 12th of April. And everybody's always talking about, the winter weather that still is around when they start playing baseball. At least this year, if we do have what you just mentioned, Joe, especially with those raw onshore winds or whatever, and the clouds and everything else, at least the ball players won't have to suffer because there ain't any kind of baseball that's going to be played for at least the probably the first month of the season, the regular season. Maybe, I dare I say, maybe no baseball at all for this year. I don't even know, and I don't, and quite frankly, I don't even care anymore. It's you go to watch, you sit in a stadium and you're watching millionaires and multimillionaires playing a game of ball for 8 or 9 innings and cheering them on. So, and I'm not going to be certainly out there in those onshore winds and chilly temperatures. I once went to an opening day at Shea Stadium, and where I was sitting, there was snow still under the seats. You got to be a real fanatical fan to go out in that kind of weather.
By the way, just really quick, I'll send you the link to it because I actually didn't see this until about 15 minutes before the show started. I thought it was a really interesting piece. I kind of scanned through it, and then I'm going to reread it tonight. But apparently, uh, someone in I think it's an on-air weather person in Los Angeles opined on Twitter that given the advance of technology and weather apps and all the rest of it, uh, that the on-air TV weather person and its function in the newscast is becoming increasingly more irrelevant. And wondering openly, asking out loud, how is it that we're still?
I saw that.
Did you see it? Yeah,
I
I saw it, and
I saw that. I saw
I
that.
sort of scanned through it. I know the person got immediate blowback from that, and I probably maybe will get some blowback also because of what I'm about to say. Uh, I think there's a certain I think she poses a question that is going to become a bigger question as we as time goes on. I think it's going to become a bigger question about the relevancy. And I totally understand agree with the fact that the local weather people can give, especially during severe weather, um, could get give a perspective locally that apps can't really do because there's, except for mine, that's the only one I know of that I actually have daily input in. The apps are all driven by models, so whatever the model says is what people see. Uh, but
Right.
I think one of the things that's going to have to happen is that in order to in order for that relevancy to continue, you're going to see some sort of weaving. Whether people on TV, as if they don't already do a lot, are going to have to do even more for less money, which is what it's going to come down to. But that may be one of the outcomes of this over time. The technology is just going to make, you know, the unintended consequence would be that the human being is going to wind up having to work more for less um, down the road. But that's just my little old never to be humble opinion from someone who was in the business on the air for 40 years, and not looking to get back on standard television anytime soon because he's perfectly happy with what he's got now.
Well, there you go. I'd like to share. I'd like to share something. If you want to call this the comic relief portion of the show.
Yeah, hang on a second. Now the comic relief portion of the
A friend,
show is when I make technical mistakes, which I almost did just now. There you go.
my good friend Sam Storch, sent me a copy of a book. This book was written in 1985, and it had me chortling, so to speak. In fact, Renata was trying to watch a TV program. I was sitting on the couch next to her with my laptop, looking at this book, and just like, and she finally said, "Would you please get up and go in another room?" This book is called Science Made Stupid by Tom Weller, and I want to show you the weather section of this book. And now, can you see that, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Here we'll start.
Oh,
we'll start
hysterical.
First at 20,000. We'll start at 20,000 feet. There you see the jet stream. This is the propeller stream. And as far as the clouds are concerned, we have circus.
Right.
Cucumber nimble. Circular status. Serio comic. Strato cruiser. Stratus. Nimble.
Status.
Cumbersome. Status. Nimble. Cumbersome. That's his sea level now. And now the so-called water cycle, where you start off with the water table with a dead fish, followed by, which leads into elaboration, condescension, specific participation.
Yes.
And this right here is the table, That's your water
Your water
table.
table, right?
This is your water chair. Industrial
Affluence. And
affluence.
this is actually
Which,
this is genius. I love this. This is
pouring of course. Now, let us explain the Coriolanus effect.
Wait a minute.
Since
Wait
the
a minute.
Earth
Wait
is
a
in a
minute.
is
Wait a
a
minute. Wait a minute. I think it's the Coriolanus effect.
the Coriolanus effect. Since the Earth is a rotating sphere, different points on its surface move at different velocities depending upon their platitude. This result of this unequal velocity, the Coriolanus effect, causes storm systems to rotate clockwise north of the equator, counterclockwise to the south. The effect is even influences which way water in a sink will swirl as it runs down the drain. Northern hemisphere, water runs down drain clockwise. Equator,
Doesn't run down.
drains clogged. Not at all.
Oh, that's just too
Southern
funny.
hemisphere, water runs down drain counterclockwise. Now let's explain to everybody, those of you who watch weathercasters at night or read about the weather newspaper, you may have been confused about reading the weather map. So this is here how you can read a weather map. Weather maps often appear in the papers or on TV. If you know how to apply the key, you can interpret their meaning in everyday language. H, high pressure. L, low pressure. X, buried treasure. K,
Kosher.
kosher.
Arts, children under 17
R,
not admitted.
cold front, warm front,
Oh, the
communist front,
barbed wire and a freeway.
freeway.
Can you send this to me, please? I think this is genius.
Looks like rain, or maybe not. Might be a big one. Let's I'm not gonna. I mean, this not only covers weather, folks. It covers everything. Like, for example, earthquakes. Whose fault? The Richter scale. I mean, it is so funny. Here, of course, all of you know I'm heavily into astronomy. So here is the new style Pictures in the Sky sky map, which includes Booties, Android. Here's the constellation of Drano. Here's your favorite, Joe.
Right.
Corona.
Right.
With formaldehyde.
Oh, that's just too boring.
Aquarium.
Right. O'Brien. Hydrants. Camel Lopakis.
Camel.
Jiminy Cricket. and Conus Major.
I mean, it is. Well, you get the idea.
Can you send that? Can you send that to me, please? That is hysterical.
Yes, I'll email it. And it's 83 pages, and you could just Isadora.
Oh, that's just genius.
It is Roger or Francis Bacon, father of the scientific method. It is just, and you can understand now why. And this was actually put out or published by a very reputable publishing company up in Boston, Hoffman Mifflin, which has produced many, many books. But this one, again, written in 1985 by a gentleman by the name of Tom Weller. I guess maybe you could find this online at Amazon or whatever. But Joe, my friend Sam Storch sent me a link to give you the whole book. And like I said, I was just like laughing my what off last night, going page by page over this.
It's quite funny. It is quite funny. 84 pages of this PDF. Wow.
84 pages. So I mean, if you want to make it into a book of your own or make copies, you'll have to have 84 pages in the printer. But it is funny as all heck. So,
and as you can see, if you want to know who the only person left on AOL is, ta-da!
There you go. All right, I'm going to stop sharing now.
All right.
Now that you've made fun of me.
So, listen, since there's something I have to do. So let's save Briller Jeopardy for Sunday. and
Okay.
let's just let's call it a night right now. All right.
All
Sorry,
righty.
folks, but I got something I got to take care of. So thanks for being here tonight. Most appreciated. Thanks for all the super chat hits. The 54 likes. Our current viewers are over 100, which is great. So Joe and I will be taking the next 2 days off. So we will see you on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Nighty night.
Nighty night, folks.